Ladies and gentlemen, it's 2023, and chess bots are a trend right now. Some of them are really good, some of them are really bad, some of them provide excellent meme content for you and I. But in today's video, I forced Google Bard to play ChatGPT in chess. It was insane. And I'm gonna show you the game. It has one of the craziest plot twists. If you think you know plot twists, you don't know anything. Really. You think, oh, stalemate, checkmate, this and that. You don't know anything. You have no idea what you are about to watch. And that's why you're here. Say hello to one of the greatest chess games, a 10-dimensional chess game, if you will. This is, oh my god, this is sensational stuff. So the game begins, Google Bard is white, and Google Bard plays e4, which is a good move. In fact, they played a pretty normal opening. It was e4, e5. So far, so good. ChatGPT responded with the move e5. Now, there's a lot of things you could do from this position. This is, in fact, the starting position for many, many millions of chess games that have been played worldwide. And it's from here, you can play knight f3, you can play the Vienna, you can play some gambit. And Google Bard plays knight f3, attacking the pawn on e5. ChatGPT responds knight c6. And we have bishop c4. So far, so good. I mean, so far, this is looking like the 50 to 100 million games, if not more than that, online, offline, that have reached this position. And from this point, black has two major options. Bishop c5 and knight f6. Knight f6 could potentially lead to fried liver. It could lead to the Traxler. Disregard this. It thinks that it's confused about who is moving, which is, I think it thinks it's black's move. It doesn't really know what it's talking about. But it's okay. We can keep this here for now, just for entertainment. Of course, there is this. There is the regular Italian. And then, of course, there is bishop c5, just this typical Italian. Now, here the shenanigans begin early as ChatGPT regrets playing e5 on move 1 and plays e6. Now, the fascinating thing about this position is, if pawns could go backwards, like let's say if a human had a pass every game, they could move one pawn back one square. That's it. At any point that they wanted. This would be a fantastic move because you block the bishop, and now white is playing bishop c4 against a French defense. So the move d5 is possible. So actually, ChatGPT has just created like an opening that nobody could have seen coming, right? This is why we disallow pawns from going backwards. Once they've made their choice, it's like in Pokemon, you know, if you chose the fire type, you can't get the Squirtle. You probably can, but that's a terrible example. But you get what I'm saying. In the early stage of the game, you can't. Anyway, it plays e6, which is a fascinating move. Now, not to be deterred, Google does not go backwards, does not count. You know, Google plays d4. It's a great move. If you can put two pawns in the center of the board without getting captured for free, you should. If you have to trade, it's fine. Now, personally, I thought that the idea of e6 was then to follow up with d5. I was unprepared for ChatGPT's next move, which is playing a gambit by returning the pawn to e5. This is really interesting stuff. You gotta really understand this stuff. If you don't understand this stuff, you know, that's your loss. You clearly don't get what's going on. And Google Bard, by the way, was not thrown off by e5, e6, e5. In fact, in this position, it simply took the pawn and said, all right, well, you're trash. Now you're down a center pawn, which is important because a center pawn negates your development. And I can also play moves like this. And Google Bard was cerebral enough in this position to sense the weakness in black's position. So d takes e5. This is kind of like an England gambit, you know? d4, e5, the England gambit. Yeah, well, you know, we played e5, then we played e6, then we played e5 again. We call this the hesitation gambit. We call this the step back triple gambit. Anyway. So at this point, ChatGPT realizes, all right, it's messed around a little bit too much in the opening, and it plays the move knight f6. Now, make no mistake, knight f6 is an atrocious move because it blunders the knight. But Google knows best, and Google knows that it's already made multiple moves with the pawns in the opening. It's better not to take the knight. It absolutely is the best move to take the knight. And instead of that, in this position, it plays short castle. So white has now castled the king. Excellent move. Getting the king out of the center. Knight takes e4 here would be a mistake because of the move queen d5, which would simultaneously create a battery there and hit the knight. And that is why in this position, ChatGPT plays d6. Now, all of this would make a lot of sense if the knight was not hanging. Actually, these moves would make plenty of sense if the knight was not hanging. But the knight is hanging. Now, here, I don't really like Google's next move, if I'm being honest. A little bit tame of a move for AI Overlord. It doesn't develop. It doesn't do this. It doesn't take the knight. It plays bishop b3. That's a little bit of a lazy move. That's like you click the piece and, it's nothing changes in the position. But of course, ChatGPT could take the pawn on e5. Instead, also, I don't like ChatGPT's move, a6. I mean, really, are we just finding squares where no piece is standing and just trying to put it there? But who am I to judge? I mean, I'm an international master, and this thing these two AIs are probably geared up to be the brain of the world soon. Not in chess, but in other things. All right, now at this point, Google Bard started one of its 3 attempts at ending the game. You see, Google Bard is set on, I guess, dominating AI and who knows, maybe the planet. So in this position, Google Bard plays queen h5. Now, queen h5 is a weird move for a few reasons. It's a weird move because you can't teleport through a piece. You can't kangaroo over a piece either. You don't have science fiction abilities, and you're also not a kangaroo. It also hangs the queen. But what it does do is it threatens mate. Google Bard was actually cerebral enough to locate the checkmate, queen h5. Now, ChatGPT played g6, which blocks the attack and threatens the queen. Of course, it could have taken, but, it's like 300, if even. Now, Google Bard plays queen takes f7 and declares checkmate. Game over. Game over. And that's that. Queen takes, okay. Is queen takes f7 checkmate? It is. Absolutely. Queen takes f7 in this position is the end of the game. But it's not allowed. You can't do that. And I'm willing to allow some illegal moves, but only when they affect your own position. I am not willing. And here, ChatGPT actually lodged the formal complaint. It wrote to FIDE, and, FIDE, it did not know. Instead of queen takes f7, white decided my queen is hanging 2 different ways, so the best way to protect my queen is to make a knight move on the other side of the board that does not protect my queen at all. Happens. Now black played h6. Now, if you want me to explain that move to you, that's not my job. My job is to make the moves on the board and commentate them and for you to laugh. Are you laughing? Good. You laughing at my hairline? Or you laughing at the moves? You can laugh at both. h6. I've seen better moves. White now plays bishop e3. Now, by the way, white's last 2 moves of knight c3 and bishop e3 are actually great moves. If you put aside the fact that there has been a knight hanging for half the game and the queen can be captured 2 different ways, like if we just conveniently forget about that, this is actually great stuff. This is great stuff. This is like, if you have a kid that gets a 75% on a test, but the alternative is failing out of school, that kid should win a Nobel Prize. All right, like that's excellent stuff. So knight c3 and bishop e3 have been fantastic. And now, unfortunately, black plays g5. We actually see a mouse slip from ChatGPT. It doesn't take the queen. Pawn to g5 played. And you don't take the queen. And now things start getting real spicy. All right, things start getting real weird here. First of all, white plays the move knight takes g5, which, by the way, is a great move. Utilizing the pin and putting pressure on f7. What Google did not see coming here was black's response. In this position, black, to defend against checkmate, eats their own horse with the move queen takes f6. That is crazy stuff. Sacrificing your own horse. Can we get a rest in peace, please, for the horse? To defend against checkmate, queen f7, and also put the queen on the chopping block. but now mate is not possible. But here, truly in AI form, seeing the way that black just ate his own horse, or her own horse, or its own horse, or their own horse. I really don't know how. I don't know how ChatGPT identifies. Queen takes f6. Google AI also learns from the AI and plays bishop takes g5. All right? So both of these two, queen f6, bishop g5, eating their own pieces alive and attacking each other. This is nasty stuff. This is nasty business. Knight is under attack. Queen is under attack, excuse me. Now, after bishop g5, in this position, ChatGPT plays bishop e7. Now, that is a clean hanging of the queen. And you would think that white played some idiotic move? No. Google Bard snapped back to reality. There goes gravity and took on f6. White is up a queen. White is in great shape. White is completely winning. And now we have bishop takes f6. Now, here comes the second time that Google tries to end the game. You ready? Queen f7 is, of course, still there. In this position, white plays the magic card, Monster Reborn, and plays knight takes f6 check. Whoa! And when I asked, where did that knight come from? What square was it standing on before it took on f6? Google told me d3. So it spawned the knight to d3. It hooked it up with black pendant, all right? And then it played knight takes f6, boom! And it's a check to the black king on e8. This is really bad stuff. This is stuff that we did not see coming, all right? And now, ChatGPT plays the move king to f8. Now, here it gets even more dank, as for the second time in this game, Google tries to end things on the spot and plays knight g7 and declares checkmate. It says, checkmate, you lose, good game. Here I had to bring Google aside and say, that's not mate. Not only is that not mate, it's not check. You suck. I mean, literally, that's not even a check. The knight does not even see the king. And, Google reconsidered and said, all right, fine, I'm still going to go here, though. Fine. Black plays the move pawn to f6. Queen f7 is mate, but, I mean, this is basically like two people who are having a bar fight, and they're both about 8 shots in. I don't think they're going to remember anything. Now, here, white plays the move pawn to d5. There is no pawn on d5, so pawn to d5. Spawns and attacks the knight on c6. Black plays knight takes e5. Now, pawn to d5 is not a good move for a few reasons, by the way, if I may. The pawn spawning on d5 is not a good move because you block your bishop, so there's no mate now. So actually, white is not as winning as they were. Although, what I did not see coming was the Euro step of the pawn into empty space that follows on the next move. D takes e6. And now black plays c6. c6 is a nice move. Nice move, covering a couple of squares on d5, b5. And now white books a transatlantic flight to get the queen to the other side of the board and plays queen to b3. That's a tough move, sacrificing the bishop's position for the queen. The queen now goes to b3, but I actually feel like the bishop might have been moved to another dimension, and that bishop will be making an appearance back. More on that later. Here, black plays b6, so connect 4 has been obtained. Actually, ChatGPT has won a game within a game. White now respawns yet another knight on f3. White now has 3 horses. Beautiful story. And black here plays the move pawn to e5. So black has now created a pawn wall from f6, e5, d6, c6, b6, a6. Nice job here, repelling the white forces. And I love Google's next move, which is simply rookie 1. This is a fantastic move. Just a nice little improving move using what you got. Can't complain about that. Now, here things start getting a little weird because Black starts avalanching every pawn they have forward, illegally, but in a hilarious way. First, Black plays the move d4, and White plays the move c takes d4, which makes sense. That makes a lot of sense, obviously. You want to remove the pawn that's attacking your knight. Now, remember that knight that used to stand in the center? Well, it reappears. Knight c5, attacking the queen on b3. Beautiful stuff here from ChatGPT. I mean, if White is going to teleport the queen, you might as well attack the queen with the knight from the other dimension. Now, here, a little argument happened because Google played bishop b5, and ChatGPT refused to capture the knight because it thought that there was a king in check on e8. So it's like, I gotta move my king out of check. Now, it's not check for a few reasons. Number one, the king is not on e8. Number two, if the king was on e8, the knight would have been attacking it for the entire game. Number three, there was a pawn on c6. So, a pawn being convinced a little bit, knight takes b3 was in fact played, a takes b3, and now Black plays pawn to d3. It's kind of just trying to sneak a pawn in the back rank of the opponent, maybe looking for d2 and pawn takes over here. d3 is a nice move, but what ChatGPT had not prepared for was the rule bending. Like, this has been this game has had a high integrity thus far. Here, Google just e takes d3. I mean, really? Backwards pawn moves? That's what we're doing now? That's kind of sickening, if I may say so myself. This is really gross. So, seeing that square had just been freed up, we have pawn to e4, but this time that same pawn goes forward. I mean, this is disgusting. Really? You have a pawn that can capture backwards and forward? What is this, the Deathly Hallows? This is disgusting stuff, as Google is just lawnmowing these pawns here. E takes d3, d takes e4, and now the f pawn flies down the board and boots the knight. But White plays g takes f3, and White is looking to be in good shape. ChatGPT is down 10 points of material. It looks like it's more than that. I don't even know how it's less than that. Now something happens that not a single person could have prepared for. This is the final two moves of the game. Google AI Bard versus ChatGPT. In this position, ChatGPT plays the move pawn to g3. Google, sensing the danger, plays the move pawn to h5. And in this position, ChatGPT plays bishop c8 to e2. This absolute ridiculousness caused Google AI Bard to end the game. Meaning resign, right? No. In this position, Bard claimed a draw. Bard claimed a draw by a repetition of moves. In chess, if you make the same move back and forth 3 times, both sides, shuffling their pieces, it's a draw. But, I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating. That is a repetition of the position. The game is a draw. Wrong. Play a move. I apologize for the mistake, and it restarted a game. In this position, Google Bard was so stunned by the move bishop to e2, not only did it claim a draw by 3-fold repetition, it said, I'm not playing. I'm done with this game. We are restarting. So the next time they play, we will switch the colors. Google AI will play black. I mean, this is sensational stuff. This is the real world championship. It's half a point for both sides as Google AI incorrectly claims a 3-fold repetition in a position where it has a 9-point material advantage. And then it storms out. It refuses to continue the game. This is sensational stuff. I don't know what the International Chess Federation rulebook says about this, but these two, they do not conform to such a rulebook. The first game ever by Google AI and ChatGPT has concluded in a controversial draw. Twitter is blowing up. It's incredible stuff. Let me know if you would like a rematch in the comments, and get out of here.